Hi everyone, I'm Adam. And in this problem, we're going to be using our half angle formulas to find the sine, cosine, and tangent values of this angle here, 112 degrees and 30 minutes. So to get us started, we'll go ahead and look at our values of sine. Now, we know the half angle formula for sine. So sine of some u over 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of our u divided by 2. So how are we going to use this? Well, we want to find the sine, cosine, and tangent values. So to find sine, essentially we're going to think of this u over 2, this angle here, which we're trying to find the sine, cosine values of this angle. Think of this as some half angle, meaning we're going to think of 112 degrees and 30 minutes as equal to some angle divided by 2. Now, looking at the right side of our formula, we're going to need just the u. So that's what we're going to find over here, which isn't too bad. So if you remember talking about degrees and minutes in a previous section, degrees, there's 360 degrees all the way around in a circle, and between 2 degrees, it's just like minutes and hours. Each degree is broken up into 60 minutes. So 30 minutes essentially means this is 112, say 0.5 degrees, if you want to simplify this. And we can think of that as some half angle. So multiplying both sides by 2, that essentially says that our angle u is 225 degrees. Okay? So what can we do with this? Well, let's take a look at our unit circle. Thinking of this in terms of degrees, where you have 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and back around to 360 degrees. So the angle 225 degrees, we know sits right in our third quadrant. Essentially, it's the equivalent of 5 pi over 4. And it'll come up in a little bit that we'll need. Our sine and cosine values are negative root 2 over 2 and negative root 2 over 2. Okay, now it's going to be pertinent in a moment, but where is the angle 112 degrees 30 minutes located? Well, we can kind of see here's 180 degrees, here's 90 degrees, and if you remember, right in the middle is 135 degrees, so 112 degrees and 30 minutes is approximately, won't have to be too accurate, somewhere in here. Okay, so now we have enough information to get started. So coming back over here, we have our half angle formula, sine of u over 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine u over 2. So the sine of our half angle, 112 degrees, 30 minutes, is equal to, now notice there's a plus or a minus on our square root. And that's why it was important for us to write our angle over here in the unit circle. We see our angle is in the second quadrant where we know sine is positive. So here we're going to take the positive form of the square root, 1 minus cosine of our u angle, which is 225 degrees, all over 2. And now we're just going to simplify this. So we have, this is equal to positive square root of 1 minus the cosine of 225 degrees, right, is negative root 2 over 2, and that's all divided by 2. Okay, whoops, and close our parentheses. So what can we do to simplify this? Well, we have a 2 in the denominator up here. We can simplify that simply by, say, extending our square root and multiplying, say, through top and bottom under our square root by 2 over 2, essentially multiplying by 1 and not changing the expression. So as we multiply through, set in a moment, when we multiply through 2 in the numerator, so the 2's will cancel here, and 1 times 2 will give us 2. So we'll have 2, also canceling our negatives, plus the square root of 2. And then 2 times 2 in the denominator gives us 4, and the square root of that is just 2. So we only have to take the root of the top. So our sine of 112 degrees and 30 minutes is equal to root 2 plus root 2 over 2. Now let's take a look at cosine. So cosine, using our half angle formula, so the cosine of some u over 2 is again plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of the angle u divided by 2. So what we're going to have is cosine of our angle 112 degrees 30 minutes is equal to, again, noting where it is in the unit circle, it's in the second quadrant where cosine is negative. So we're going to take the negative of the square root. So we have negative square root of 1 plus cosine of our u angle, 225 degrees over 2. Now, we can save ourselves a little bit of work here if we just note up here, inside the square root, it's essentially the same expression, except our minus is now a plus. So we can go through all the way back through the same steps. We could do that if we wanted to, or we note we get the same expression, but we can just change this plus to a minus, or change the sign since we start with different signs in our two expressions. So this will simplify to 2 on the bottom, and in the numerator, say 2 minus square root of 2. So the cosine of 112 degrees and 30 minutes, negative root of 2 minus root 2, all divided by 2. And now the last thing we have to do is take a look at our tangent. So the half angle formula for tangent, tangent of some u over 2. Now there's two forms for this. And in both forms, if you simplify right, you'll essentially get to the same end. So we'll just pick one, namely that tangent of u over 2 is equal to 1 minus cosine u divided by sine u. And this is equal to, so 1 minus cosine u, or 1 minus negative root 2 over 2 divided by sine u, which is negative root 2 over 2. So right away we see our negatives will cancel, giving us a plus. And to simplify this, well, we can invert and multiply. So multiplying the numerator through by negative 2, say, over root 2. So multiplying our entire numerator here. So multiplying through 1 times negative 2 over root 2 will just give us negative 2 over root 2. And then negative 2 over root 2 times square root of 2 over 2 will cancel, giving us just, say, negative 1. And here we're pretty much done, except it's kind of standard practice to rationalize the denominator. And we can do that by simply multiplying through by square root of 2 over square root of 2. And this will give us minus 2 root 2 over 2 minus 1. And one last simplification we can do is notice that our 2's will cancel. And if we want to, we can factor a negative all the way to the outside. So we'll have minus the quantity square root of 2 plus 1. So minus the quantity square root of 2 plus 1 is equal to our tangent of 112 degrees and 30 minutes. Thank you very much.